Hey there, I'm Steve Clayton, and thanks so much for taking a couple minutes to watch this video. I think it's really, really important because there are a lot of people out there that want to make a big change in their life, that want to be an entrepreneur. It's most of the people that I talk to. Want to start their own business, want to have freedom, financial freedom, geographic freedom, time freedom. And yet there are a lot of people that basically let themselves down, really. And there's a whole bunch of reasons for that. So let's talk through that, right? Because what I'd like to do, I'd like to try anyway, is to just kind of break the shackles that are probably holding you back. Now, look, I'm not freaking Tony Robbins or whatever. That might have been a really poor example, but I've done a lot in my 30 some odd years of, well, it's actually more than that. Let's call it 30 years of professional experience. Some in corporate, and then the last almost 15 years or so being a serial entrepreneur. I built 5 or 6 different multi-billion-dollar profit businesses. I've helped teach tens of thousands of students how to build their own businesses, and I've seen it all. So the chances are that I've been where you are now for sure, or I've seen someone else in your position who has gone on to succeed. I would be shocked if you could shock me with whatever your strengths and weaknesses are, your situations are, and so on. And ideally, over so many years of business background and so many years and so many students, there's got to be some foundations here, some lessons learned, something that I can do to help you if you've not, reached that level of success. So what I'm going to try and do is, again, we're going to talk about how to break the shackles here that are holding you back, potentially. And they might not all apply to you, but I'm sure that some do. We're going to talk about 7 simple shifts that'll force you down the path of success, sort of almost like a self-hack. What I think is the number one secret to success online, and then just a simple lesson that I hope is going to serve you well. So we think a lot about this. I've thought a lot about it in my personal life, with my family. Others have asked me about this all the time. Just why do some people get it, and why do others appear to be like on autopilot, or just kind of like aimlessly on a path that isn't necessarily where they want to go? And do they really even know where they want to go? And it really all comes down to your current reality. And now, of course, I'm not trying to say that this is magic, right? Like, I can't sit here and believe myself into me being an astronaut. Although, actually, I used to use that example all the time. When I'm talking about this, probably not a good example anymore, because if I had financial freedom, I could get myself a ticket on Branson's, Galactic One or whatever the hell he's calling it. So soon, I actually will be able to succeed my way into being an astronaut. So, let's pick another one. I probably, at my age, at this point, I probably can't, think myself into being a fireman, okay, which is maybe what I wanted to do when I was 4. But it does have a lot to do with your current reality and sort of what you think you can achieve. If you expect average, or if you just expect autopilot, or if you just expect I'm going to live the life that everybody else does and behave in that way, that's what you're going to get. And if you fake it till you make it a little bit, and you behave in a way that successful people behave, and you follow those clues and you do those things, you greatly increase the chances of you being a success. Now, I'm going to give you some concrete things that I'm talking about here. I'm not talking about sitting in your room in the dark and closing your eyes and wishing real hard. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about very tangible things. So let's talk about those. Let's talk about 10 important mindset shifts that you can set yourself up for success in 2020. Actively seek radical change. Look, if you didn't achieve what you wanted to in 2019, let's say you don't make some sort of radical change. That means you're just going to do the same thing, right? So if you do the same thing, it's probably reasonable to expect the same results, right? So you've got to sort of get out of your way and get out of your comfort zone, man. We all have it, and we all sort of go through these cycles where we're more in our comfort zone than others, or we're attracted more to that, or less risk taking, whatever you want to call it, right? But it's real easy to be on autopilot. It's easy to work for somebody else, as long as things are going okay. It's easy to wait for that, 1 week vacation. It's easy to wait for that new show that's coming out on Netflix. It's easy to wait for Fridays and Saturdays and hang around and watch football on Sunday. It's easy to do all that stuff, right? But that's not how you succeed. How you succeed is you do something dramatically different. You get out of your comfort zone. You've got to be okay with being uncomfortable, all right? So the first thing to do is just recognize, shit, that's hard for me. Okay, I'm going to concentrate on doing that. And when new things come along, when new opportunities come along, even if they put me outside my comfort zone, I'm gonna go for it, or I'm going to at least consider it. Embracing failure. So many people are so afraid of failing. And I'll tell you, and I've talked about this before. So if you've heard me say this before, I apologize, but I think it's critically important. It's not so much even that people are afraid to fail on an individual thing. They're afraid to break their dreams. Let me give you a very specific example. If you are dreaming all the time of being an entrepreneur, then that dream is part of your identity. It doesn't matter whether you have actually achieved being an entrepreneur. We all know people who work 9 to 5 for someone else for 50 years, and the whole time they have dreamed of being an entrepreneur. That is their dream. That's what they think about when they go to sleep at night, blah, blah, blah. But they never do anything about it. And one of the reasons they don't do anything about it is because they're afraid to break that dream. They're afraid to fail. They're afraid that if they fail, not only will they fail in this one transactional thing, where they tried this thing and it didn't work, but it will destroy their dream. And they will have to say, oh, I can't do that thing that has been my dream, that has sustained me for 50 years or whatever the hell it is, right? I get it. It's human nature. But you have to understand that there is no successful entrepreneur anywhere on earth who hasn't had horrific failures and continue to do so. Believe me, not everything we do. You guys only see the shit that works because, why would we share and try to teach and explain and celebrate the stuff that doesn't work? Well, we get a shit ton of stuff that doesn't work, but it's part of the journey. And if you failed in the past, that's fine, because that just means you're on the way, okay? So please, failure, and think about the whole dream thing. Just because you fail 1 time, 10 times, 20 times, I don't give a shit what it is, right? Just because you fail on your journey does not mean that your dream is dead. Does not mean you have to abandon that part of your identity. It's really important. Figuring out why you're trying to do the things you're trying to do. Why do you care about being an entrepreneur? Why do you care about financial freedom? Or time freedom or geographic freedom. It's really important to get this. And Aiden talks about this a lot, going 7 layers deep. Just keep asking, like, why do you want to start an online business? Well, I want financial freedom. Or why do you want financial freedom? Well, I want to give my kids stuff. Well, why do you care about that? Well, I want them to have opportunities. Why do you want them to have that? You get the idea, right? The idea is really it's not just I want to make money. It's not just I want to be my own boss. It's always got to be deeper than that, and it's always got to be tied directly to what makes you happy. And listen, I have given presentations on this, and I have one in our members area actually for Kibo Code on this whole subject about the why and trying to figure out what makes you happy. It's not as easy as you may think. A lot of us have trouble answering the question, what makes us happy? And yet it's really critical to figure it out, because if we can figure out the why, then it just makes everything so much easier. We know why we're getting up and every single day. This is something that is the soccer analogy is something I would suggest to you to make a change in your life. Okay, it's something that has served me well for decades, and I'll try to explain, although it's a little bit weird. Look. Here's my theory. In football, and I'm talking about American football, there are very clearly defined plays. Okay, we're in this position and we want to get 10 yards, so we are going to run this play. We expect the defense to operate in this manner. We're going to throw the ball to this guy, or if he's not open, to this guy. But it's very specced out, and you kind of lay it out on X's and O's on the chalkboard and all that sort of thing. Soccer, and I mean football to the rest of the world, like what's on this graphic here. Soccer, and I'm going to insult a lot of soccer fans, to me doesn't have a lot of strategy, and I'm sure it does. But for the purposes of this metaphor, if you could roll with me, that'd be great. Really what it's all about is, look, we don't really know who's going to score, okay? But here's what we know. What we know is when we get the ball down the field and then we cross the ball into the middle, good things happen, right? I don't know whether somebody on my team's going to kick the ball in, and I don't know who that is. I don't know if the other team's going to accidentally kick it in. I don't know if the other team's going to accidentally handball, and then I've got a penalty kick, and I've got an opportunity to score. Maybe they'll put it out of bounds and behind the goal line, and I'll have an opportunity for a corner kick, which, by the way, what's a corner kick? Just putting it in the middle and thinking good things are going to happen, right? So my whole business career, I have thought like this, and I've said, I don't have to know how it's going to work out exactly, right? I don't have to know that 4 years later, something I do right now is absolutely going to win or make me successful in this particular way. But what I do have to do is keep moving the ball down the field and crossing it into the middle. I'll give you a couple examples, okay? So years ago, like more than 10 years ago, we weren't really ready to have a China office yet with our e-commerce business. It was an added expense. There was a ton of complexity. We were really worried about it. It was risky. But I said, you know what? I don't exactly know how this is going to help us, but it feels to me like I'm moving the ball down the field and I'm crossing it in the middle if we get ourselves a China office. And oh, good grief, I can't tell you how many times the China office has had an incredible impact on us for the goods that we manufacture ourselves, okay? And all sorts of other things, all sorts of other relationships that it's opened up and things like that, to the point where we've grown this incredible, business and we're starting to put products in CVS and Walgreens and, Walmart and all that sort of stuff. So anyway, I have other examples of that, but we have a lot to cover here. So it's not always important to know exactly how it's all going to pan out, okay? But what is important is, if you care about success, is that you are just simply always getting the ball down the field and crossing it in the middle. If you keep doing that, eventually the good thing will happen and you'll score. I promise you, that is the whole premise of soccer, for God's sakes, and it really does work. Clear vision and focus. Where do you want to be? What does finished look like? Writing it down. It may seem silly to, maybe you could probably see behind me, this whole wall in my office is a whiteboard. It's a white wall, okay? A whiteboard was not big enough for me because I write this shit down all the time, all right? So it's critical. Once you write it down, it may seem silly, but again, it's hacking yourself. It's psychological. When you write it down, it becomes real, right? It's really, really important. So what is it you're trying to do? What does finished look like? Where do you really want to be? Writing it down and then staying focused, staying the course. Here's my end game, okay? Am I getting the ball down the middle and putting it down the field and crossing the middle so I can achieve this? I don't know exactly how, maybe I'll get there, but I know I'm moving this direction. The ship is pointed in that way, okay? Building some sort of network, some kind of inner circle, this is, all of these are so important. I can't say one is more important than the other, but, surrounding yourself with like-minded folks, people who believe in you and what you're working to achieve and think the same way and are, probably trying to achieve it themselves. And it's hard to do that locally. It's very hard. And you can, if you're lucky, you get one or two people locally ever, but you really need more than that. So you can do it virtually, and you can do it with online courses, communities, masterminds, attending live events. You'll find people to network with and stay in touch with. But it's really, really important to build this network of inner circle of people that support you and that sort of know what you're up to. And it's just from a human nature perspective, it's super, super helpful. I can tell you that it wasn't until I got to this point in my life where I just said, I basically forced myself into doing it because I was, in corporate. I had kind of golden handcuffs, meaning I was really well paid. And it was hard for me to leave. I had a family to support, but I knew I wasn't happy. And I just basically cut ties and said, well, I'm going to operate without a net now and give it a try. So it has to work, or I'm going to fall and kill myself. But I don't recommend that for you necessarily. But getting to the point where it's got to work. You've got to do it. There is no option. There is no plan B. That kind of thing. With Tesla, with Musk, there's no plan B there. It's just going to fail, or it's not. But at this point, this is shocking, right? It's already like the end of January. Like almost 10% of 2020 is gone. I can't tell you. 2019 went by so fast, the fastest year that I've ever had. But there's only 90% left of 2020. So how are you going to do it, right? And miracles happen in the now, meaning it's never going to happen if you just say, "Oh, I'll do it later." Just adopt this no tomorrow attitude. It's a huge thing. So look, seek radical change. Get the hell out of your comfort zone. Stop being on autopilot. Okay? Wake yourself up. Give yourself a freaking slap in the face. It's key. Don't worry about, number 2, embrace failure. Don't worry about killing your dream. It will never die. It won't. And that's not even who you are anyway. So figure out who you are and just keep pursuing this dream, because it drives what makes you happy if you're thinking about it correctly. And that kind of gets to number 3, which is understanding your why. Figure out why the hell you even want to do this. Why is it important to you? And there could be, I don't know what it is for you. Could be a whole bunch of reasons. And number 4, my soccer strategy or football strategy, wherever you're from. But move. Always be not. We could say always be closing. I literally think like this. Always be moving the ball down the field and crossing it in the middle. Some of my largest successes in life, in fact, if you picked the top 10 successes in life, I would suggest to you that maybe 7 of those were as a direct result of, I wasn't quite sure how it was going to work out, but I was moving the damn ball down and crossing it in the middle, and good things happened. Not all the time, but enough, right? Have that clear vision and focus. It's critical. Build a network for yourself. Just don't do it alone. Why? You can't do it alone. You cannot. Nobody I know does. And adopt this, no tomorrow attitude. It's critical. It's a change in thinking. So, look, you want the big secret? The number 1 thing? It's just keep it freaking simple. This is what kills people, startups or new ideas and, that kind of thing. It's capital, so look for a business. What you're trying to do here is, look, if these are the typical things that get you, what you're trying to do here is look for an opportunity that avoids all of this. Having to have a lot of capital is definitely a non-starter for a lot of people. So buying all the inventory up front in e-commerce example, or having to design an information product and hire all sorts of people to do that, or produce the video or whatever it is. Marketing skills. Look, we're all have some marketing skills, or we probably wouldn't want to be an entrepreneur. But don't expect me to be the copywriter or the ad designer, for God's sakes. I could probably do the strategic planning, but everybody's got their own little thing, right? But you need to have, for a lot of businesses, you need to have all of those things. You need to be an expert in all those things. You want to get rid of as much of that as you possibly can. Traffic sources like, such as Facebook, they're incredibly, here's the good news. The good news is we've never been in a place where we've had so much power to get targeted traffic online. It's incredible, and the volume of traffic. But the flip side of that is the complexity. It's never been as complicated. It used to be you placed a newspaper ad, or you sent out a direct mail campaign. Before the internet and all that stuff. Now, you're talking about having to be a Facebook expert for 2 years before you're really able to optimize things. And then, oh, by the way, they change Facebook every day, So you just can't win. You can't catch up. So we have this incredible power, these incredible opportunities for traffic like Facebook, but it comes at an incredible cost of complexity that is almost impossible for people to master if they are also just trying to start out, technical like programming stuff and website requirements, integrations, some of us that comes easy, some of us not. So if you get rid of that, the legal and administrative headaches. I mean, let's take reseller certificates for example, and you don't bother if you don't know what they are. But it's and one of the reasons they're so confusing is every single state in the United States calls them something freaking different, and they have a different process to get them and different requirements. And geez, it's like you want to slit your wrists, So having to get all that up front is like it's just a killer, and people just give up or they fail. And slow results. I mean, just human nature, like if you can't see results fast, then you're just designed almost to give up. It's in your DNA. So you have to figure out a way to like I keep coming back to, sort of hack yourself. So anyway, if these are the 6 things that we've seen, right, over a decade and tens of thousands of students, obviously, if you just get rid of all these, then you greatly increase your chance for success. And it's kind of like why we're so excited about Kibo Code. I'm not trying to. I really want to add some value to you guys without selling to you, to be totally transparent. But I mean, this is what we were faced with. This is what everybody's faced with. And so what we think is with Kibo Code, we just get rid of it. So you take a look at all of these different business models that you can try, and you sort of like score them out. And obviously what we're trying to come up with is kind of the perfect model for you to hit the reset button and just go with what is the path of least resistance, right? Let's get rid of all these potential areas for problems, and for sure, number 6, let's get results freaking fast, right? So, if we get rid of we don't need any capital, we're not going to do any Facebook advertising, we're not going to get involved with the Amazon ecosystem, we're not going to deal with China, we don't have any traffic issues whatsoever because it's easy peasy, no competition issues, no risk, great profit margins, no investment up front, low risk, rapid results, building your own asset and business. It goes on and on, right? So again, not going to try and sell you, already tried to sell you. It's okay. But if you don't take anything else away, please take all those other lessons away about just kind of breaking through the shackles. And remember, take a picture of this slide, because when you're thinking about starting your business and you finally are serious about it and you've said there's no tomorrow, make sure it's something that addresses all of those, okay? Please. A lot of people talk about this in a bunch of different ways, this 3-door theory of success. We know a lot of people that have gone from nothing to building, substantial online businesses. You're talking about tens of thousands of them, honestly. And we've seen so many people, succeed. But it typically only happens when, you've knocked down 3 doors, or that's the metaphor, but you've gone through, a whole bunch of different roadblocks or opportunities or failures or, tribes, whatever you want to say. So think about this metaphor, for a minute. Imagine you're standing in front of a door and I tell you there's $1 million on the other side. You get 24 hours to get the money. And I take you up on a journey above the room, and you see that there it is, 100% sure the money's there, but you have to figure out how to get there. So what do you do first? Well, hopefully you try to open the door, but you find it's locked, right? So then what do you do now? So most people will try to bash the door down. And it's shocking, because what we find is that most people don't even try to bash the door down. They go up to the door, they turn the handle, they find it's locked, and they leave. And go after some shiny object somewhere else, because maybe it'll be easier. And it's like the first sign of discomfort, and they retreat. They look for something easier. There has to be a way to basically make money in my basement, in my underwear, without turning my computer on. I don't have to get outside of my comfort zone. So, they sort of just keep chasing shit, They buy one crappy product after another. They follow people who are telling them something that's maybe half true or whatever. And the real successful people, they stick with one proven system and they see it through, even if it makes them uncomfortable. And some people, they go and they bash in the door, and some of them get through on their first attempt. But what a lot of people who start down this journey find is that there's actually a second door. And it's like, oh no, I couldn't see that door before. I could see the million in the first door, but I didn't know there was another one. How many doors are there? So they open the first door and they see another one, at least, or they don't open it, but they bash through the first door and they see another one. And so now again, it's another opportunity for people to quit. They see the second door and they go, oh well, forget it. I've gotten through one hurdle, so screw you. But it just seems like, to beat this metaphor to death, that there's kind of these three doors. The money's always there, but it kind of turns out to be 3 times harder than you first thought, or it takes 3 times longer. And sometimes it depends on you, what these doors are. Sometimes for some people it's procrastination. For others it's technical hurdles. For others it's whatever it is, right? But the moral of the story is that the people that end up successful are the people who knock the doors down no matter what. Somebody's calling me. Sorry about that. And it's just really, really important for you to think like that. That this is something I have to focus on and keep at. And it goes back to that whole embracing failure for sure. I mean, it really does. So, I cannot say strongly enough, if you've tried things before and it hasn't worked for you, I'm shocked. I'm not. Welcome to the world of being an entrepreneur. And I'd hate for you to be that guy down at the bottom, who was just about to get to all the diamonds. And he just says, enough is enough, Because, look, I'm telling you, you've got to at least believe this much, that I know thousands and thousands and thousands of people, that's not an exaggeration, who have made all this work. And I can tell you that there's nothing, these people aren't special in any way. It's not all just luck. It's not, they just are people that go through all 3 doors, for the most part. And they pay attention to all those other lessons and things that I've been talking about in this video. So, the most important thing maybe is don't give up on your dreams before the magic happens, please. So listen, thanks for sticking with me. I appreciate this. I didn't realize that we were going to be talking for almost 30 minutes. I hope you found some value in at least some of this. And there's 90% of 2020 left. And so you have time to make an incredible difference in your life this year. And I hope it's with us. Right on this page, you've got an opportunity to jump into the Kibo code, which, in my opinion, right now is the single best way for you to achieve the dream of building your own business and being an entrepreneur. And you'll get there if you do it. But if you don't do that, I genuinely hope that some of these other lessons are valuable, and that I've helped you today, by you listening today, I've helped you move your ball down the field and put it in the middle. And maybe it doesn't come to fruition today. Maybe it's a year from now. I don't care. But, hopefully together we move the ball down the field and put it in the middle. That's my hope. Thanks.